This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley.
Good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Thursday, May 22nd of 2025. We're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode of Ag Matters PM, I'll talk with Lauren Lindner of Indigo Ag about some recent carbon market program success that they have had. We'll also have a check of the closing markets with Jason Meyer of agmarket.net. But first, here's that conversation on Indigo Ag's success over the past 4 years with their carbon market programs and the benefits they offer for farmers.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks so much, Riley. Yeah, so as of last month, Indigo announced its fourth carbon credit issuance, which effectively means that we have generated carbon credits across 4 different crop years and effectively paid growers for their hard work. And by hard work, I'm talking about recent practice change. So any type of regenerative practice change like cover crops or reduced till that a grower has recently implemented, we effectively produce carbon credits from that type of activity and ensure that those growers get paid. We have currently produced around a megaton, which means 1 million carbon credits up until this point over those 4 years. And to date, we are far and away kind of the largest leading carbon program in this respect in the industry. So a very exciting milestone overall, Riley. And we're happy to see that well over 1,000 farmers across 28 states thus far have been paid out by the program.
And Indigo Ag is the only company to complete 4 carbon harvests and pay those farmers back. What are some of the things that Indigo tries to do differently from other carbon programs, and that's probably led a lot to that success year over year?
You've got it, Riley. Yeah, I mean, what really sets us apart at the end of the day is we work with a third-party verifier as well as a registry known as the Climate Action Reserve. And what these 2 entities help us do is they allow us to formally audit, review, and issue these credits. So think of it like any sort of saleable asset that has to go through a really rigorous process to effectively be sort of approved before it can be sold on the marketplace. We put our quantification, we put our credits, we put our data through that process to ensure that when they're formally issued to the market, they are durable, they're real, and there's something that folks on the other side of that marketplace want to buy. Because we're producing a truly saleable asset here, our credits are effectively sold to and purchased by corporate entities. So we work with entities like JP Morgan Chase, Microsoft, Fat Tire Brewing, Ralph Lauren, the list goes on, but we are currently the only program that is engaging in the private marketplace in this sense. And it's really because of that sort of verification and registry process that I referenced before.
And then on the farmer side of the program, the big thing is that farmers are getting paid for building soil health. So first off, the benefit to the earth is great. The soil health is maintaining stronger. It's just encouraging more farmers to pick up those practices. How exactly does the payment work for those farmers who are trying to get involved with that and get paid for practices that they might already be using?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's important to note that Indigo does have a slew of carbon programs. So we do have programs that will appeal to growers who have been doing those regenerative practices for a while, as well as the program I just referenced, which is Carbon by Indigo. That is a program that's going to focus on growers who have recently implemented a practice change. And what we'll typically do ourselves, as well as through our channel partners, is really meet a grower where they're at. There are plenty of growers who will say, look, cover crops seem like a good idea, and I want to do it in terms of soil health. I'm just not sure if it makes economic sense for me right now, right? And we can always help a grower understand other practice changes that might kind of help them get their foot in the door. And then once they're sort of in implementing those practice changes, we effectively take their data, quantify what they've done, and pay them based on the credits that are generated from said practice changes. And what we found, Riley, is that a lot of growers will sort of dip their toe in the water, right? Maybe they'll start with 3 to 5 fields. they'll ultimately get paid for the work they've done on those fields, and then they're kind of ready to keep going and keep scaling across additional practice changes and more acres. And I think you really hit the nail on the head there in terms of soil health. Like, yep, it's great for the environment. It seems like a good idea overall. But we've also seen that in many cases, it can help increase yield, right? It can lead to a better crop overall. It can help mitigate risk across the operation. And what we really want to help ensure this program does is help effectively pass that farm from one generation down to the next. So all of those things combined, farm resilience, soil health, those are the things we're seeking to accomplish with something like our carbon program.
And right, I was just about to lead into that of there's a lot of farms anymore that the farmers have to find some off-farm income as well to supplement, whether they're going through hard economic times or market prices are just not where they need to be. Carbon programs can be one of those things to, like you said, really kind of supplement that income and keep things a little stronger. And I like how you mentioned as well that we want to keep those farms in the family and pass down the generations.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Riley. I mean, we were on the phone with a grower the other day who'd received a check from Indigo and said, I made a mortgage payment I was worried about, right? This helped me kind of get to that next step. This helps me maintain my operation, which is really what we want to do here. And I think it's important to note that we all know that the farm economy is going through a lot of volatility right now, to put it lightly. It can be really tough for growers out there. And I think what we are really hoping to do here is offer a bright spot for folks who are looking to engage in practice change to sort of optimize their soil health. Right now there's a lack of clarity around where a lot of the programs under the IRA stand right now. There are growers who maybe anticipated being paid for cover crops over a number of years who are now not sure, whether that money's coming through. Because we are completely decoupled from government funding, we work with private entities who are very interested in purchasing these credits and purchasing them at a premium price point. We're hoping to sort of, again, be able to offer a bright spot to these growers, separate from some of the volatility we're seeing going on, and offer them a new, really unique, repeatable revenue stream over the years.
That again was Lauren Lindner, Account Director with Indigo Ag. We'll take a look at the closing markets next, but first here's a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and it's time now to take a look at the closing markets with Jason Meyer of agmarket.net. First off, Jason, what do we see going on in the grain markets today?
Well, in the overnight, the grain markets opened significantly lower, just kind of based on some rumors that biofuel mandates were going to maybe be smaller than what everybody talked about a couple of weeks ago. But then the day session started and we saw the soybean market be able to overcome that soybean oil weakness. Nearby corn was up a little bit, but I think that's largely to do with some cash basis, especially in the Eastern Corn Belt, is getting stronger. So that's bringing some support into that old crop. And then new crop corn and beans were off, or the corn was off a little bit, just with the weather not being very threatening for the next week or so. But as we get beyond the next week and into June, there's some weather forecasts that are calling for some more heat and dry temperatures. So that's something to watch out for as we move forward in the grain markets here.
So then, so far, I know we usually call the May WASDE report the first look past planting season, but it's still kind of in the middle of planting season, so it doesn't give the greatest picture. Looking then at the June WASDE report, which obviously is another big one, are we expecting to see anything too much change to that? Or like you said, the weather hasn't really been too uncooperative so far.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when it comes to planting, there's some wetter areas in the Eastern Corn Belt, but for the most part, weather has been very favorable for planting across the entirety of the Corn Belt here. and even our wet areas have been able to catch up. So the big one will be to watch is the June 30th. That'll be when the final planting numbers comes out.
And then looking over at the livestock markets, what do we see in cattle and hogs today?
The cattle market was on fire here today. So we actually saw China come back in and buy some U.S. beef. So that was very positive. And then technically speaking, both feeders and fats have been able to hold some pretty good levels. The feeders really took off today. Obviously, we still got the screwworm issue we're dealing with Mexico. So that lent to a lot of support. And on the hog side, it was a little disappointing on the front months. We saw China come in again and buy U.S. pork. So this is good news since we heard the tariff announcement last week. But just a little technical selling continued to pressure the nearby hog market here today.
And then, of course, with this weekend being Memorial Day, next Monday, but this weekend being Memorial Day weekend, that heightened demand through the livestock markets is supposed to continue for a little while, basically through September. But we've already kind of had an early start to grilling season. So has that demand been kind of factored in?
That has been factored in a little bit, and it's kind of surprising. Everybody's been talking about the higher price of beef. You look at the box beef prices, what they've been doing the last couple weeks or even months, continues to go higher. But the U.S. consumer is not wanting to change their diet away from beef. So there's some really good, strong demand, and the market's well aware of that.
All right, Jason, lots of great information today. For anyone to get in touch with agmarket.net, how can they do that?
Check us out on our website, agmarket.net. Then give myself or one of my teammates a call, and we'd be happy to talk with you.
All right, Jason, thanks again for the analysis as always, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Riley. Have a great day.
That again was Jason Meyer of agmarket.net. We'll take a look at how the numbers close through the market window at iowaagnet.com.
July corn up 2 even at 463 even. July soybeans up 4 3/4 at 1067.5. July soybean meal up 440 at 298.50. Soybean oil down 72 cents at 49.11. Chicago wheat down 4 3/4 at 544.5. Kansas City hard red wheat down half a cent at 540 even. Minneapolis spring wheat down 4 even at $6.25. July oats down 1/4 cent at 359 1/4. On the Merc, June live cattle up $1.47 at 215.62. August feeders up 3.35 at 299.77. June lean hogs down 82 cents at 98.70. Pork cutout down 20 cents at 106.10. And June class 3 milk up 24 cents at 19.87.
And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. That also brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. Also follow us on social media, Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and TikTok, and find our video content as well as previous episodes of AM PM on our YouTube channel. Don't forget as well to check out our free morning, midday, and closing market podcasts, as well as the Iowa Ag Matters podcast and Positive Potential. You can find those on your favorite podcasting service at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and Podbean, or once again on our website at iowaagnet.com under the podcast tab. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson, Andy Peterson, and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.